Good morning, Unity of Chattanooga. This is Vic Sorrell coming to you from Nashville, Tennessee, and it's a joy to be a part of your service this beautiful Sunday morning. I want to start us out this morning with a quote from Marianne Williamson, and that is, "It's not naive believing that love must become our bottom line. What's naive is believing that our species will survive another 200 years if it does not." Now, I may have shared this quote with you before, but it's really an integral part of my message. And the first song this morning is one that is also related. It's called Child Above the Sun. And basically, its message is around the truth that unless we're able to love ourselves, then we're not able to let God love us. And yet God is always willing. God always sees us. God always knows the love that we are. And it's our opportunity and our invitation to realize that love identity and to then take the steps to begin the learning, the unlearning, the leaning in, and the letting go of becoming Lovewise. But it begins with being able to see ourselves as God sees us. Child above the sun. I walk the streets at dawn. I've been up all night, and I'm still coming down from yesterday's height. Well, I'm all shaken up, and my heart is so sad for the love I've wasted and the life that I've never had. And so I'm asking you, my Father, are you ashamed of me? But I hear your voice in my soul whispering, child of the sun, I know what you've done. I see who you are and all that's in your heart. Child of the sun, no matter what you do, I'll keep my candle burning. I'm watching over you, my child above the sun. So it brings me to my knees, all the love you feel for me. And when I'd almost given up, it was you who still believed. And then you showered down on me your pure eternal light. In the rhythm of my soul, you were there all the time. And so I'm thanking you, my Father, for standing next to me. Every moment of my life you've been whispering, child of the sun, I know what you've done. I see who you are, and I see all the love in your heart. Child of the sun, no matter what you do, well, I'll keep this candle burning, and I'll be watching over you, my child above the sun. And it rings here in my heart, I feel your every breath. And so I'm sending you this never-ending love, a never-ending love. keep my candle burning, and I'll be watching over you, my child above the sun, my sweet child above the sun.
Good morning, and welcome to Unity of Chattanooga's Sunday celebration service. It's great to have Vic back with us again, and it's always my pleasure to be with you on Sunday morning. My name is Reverend Doug Worth, and I'll be your platform assistant today. As you watch this morning on Facebook, please let us know that you are with us with a thumbs up or a heart, and be sure to greet each other in the comments section. Also, don't forget to share our Sunday service with others that you feel may find value in our message today. Unity of Chattanooga is part of the worldwide network of Unity churches. We're about taking the Christian tradition that most of us have grown up with and looking deeper into the teachings of Jesus, knowing that if we can take those principles and put them into our lives, we will create a life of abundance and joy, not only for ourselves, but for everyone that we come in contact with. That is who we are, and that is what we are here about every Sunday morning. Unity is also a movement of diversity and inclusivity. We welcome everyone here. That means all individuals, regardless of race, color, gender, age, creed, religion, national origin, ethnicity, physical disability, sexual orientation, or some other identifying pronoun that I haven't mentioned. Unity leaves no one out. In the month of June, we celebrate LGBTQ Pride Month and recognize all the members of that community who we know have been often rejected by other religious organizations because of who they are or who they love. This morning, I would like to honor and recognize their resilience and their determination to live freely and to live authentically. As we light the Unity candle that symbolizes the one light and presence that shines within each and every soul, let us affirm together, I am open to a deeper understanding of spirit within all people, for we are one. So let us do that right now. So once again, let us affirm together, I am open to a deeper understanding of spirit within all people, for we are one. And so together, let's join in prayer. So as we become still, we go to that quiet place within. I invite you to take a deep breath, breathe it in, and then let it go. And on that out breath, we release any limiting thoughts or anxious feelings that may be surrounding us in our mind, and bring our attention to the highest and to the best that we know, a place where God is and where God has always been. In this sacred and special moment, we feel the presence and the power of God, surrounding us and enfolding us with a sense of peace, a sense of support and guidance, and a sense of love, giving us the encouragement to say yes to life and all of its opportunities. And so together we feel the joy, we feel the excitement, we feel the expectation, and we feel that divine, inexhaustible energy flowing through us right now. Unlike our muscles that can tire or our minds that can too often become confused, we let this Christ presence within us energize and renew our spirits right now. And so for this and for so much more, we simply say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for being with us right here in every moment, guiding us to our good. And so it is. Amen. Well, our guest speaker and a guest musician this morning is Vic Sorrell. He first came to Nashville to pursue a music business degree at Belmont University, but like so many, he became a victim of the 2008 recession and found himself looking for other work. With what he refers to as serendipity, he found a position in marketing with an organization called Nashville Cares that really resonated with him, not only then, but now. And that sounds like a God job to me. In addition to his full-time job, Vic has continued to make a lot of joyful music for many years. He finds inspiration in music while inspiring others as he continues to perform and tour with his musical group called Source. He is here today to present a talk called Lovewise, where we will discover what we need to learn, unlearn, and lean into in order for love to happen as us. And so now, here's Vic.
Well, good morning once again. I'd like to start our message this morning with an affirmation. So if you would just hold with me in consciousness while I read the following words. We are as enough now, right now, as we could ever be. Fully sourced, supplied, and supported to co-create with love. Full, magnificent, contributory life experiences. And we are safe to co-create those experiences now. And so it is. It's wonderful to be here this morning. I so appreciate the invitation to join you all again. As I mentioned in my previous talk, A Course in Miracles inspires a good bit of my work. And I recognize now, looking back, that when I was a young man, before I encountered A Course in Miracles, before I encountered New Thought spirituality, I was certainly undergoing the identity crisis that many of us experience in this life. I was doing the typical identifying outside of myself, trying to accomplish my way into a sense of self-worth, trying to achieve my way into a sense of fulfillment, trying to perform my way into an experience of self-love. And we learn in unity that ultimately we learn in unity that we are the choosers of how we perceive and therefore how we experience the circumstances we meet as spiritual beings having a human experience. And when we don't know who we are, we leave ourselves wide open to the possibility of being anything. And most importantly, the unlikelihood that we will see ourselves as love. Now, when I talk about love as identity, I'm not speaking about sentimental love, although I do believe that there is great strength in our softness. But when I speak about love today, and when I speak about becoming love-wise, and how are we doing love-wise? What I speak about is the intelligent, organizing, creative energy that is the most powerful force of the multiverse. Now, I've noticed over time that as I do the work to release a thought system based in fear, the one that we're born into, the one that we're socialized into, and to adopt a thought system centered in love and love thinking, I've seen 4 main steps, and that is learning, unlearning, leaning in, and letting go. And where most of us are really taught to find our identity in life, I believe we have a true opportunity to find our power. You know, when we're young, our behavior tends to be our identity. I remember countless times, and even to this day, my dad telling me, "You're a good boy." But what he meant was probably that I was behaving most of the time. And so as children, we have this opportunity to become confused that we are our behavior. When our behavior is pleasing, we're good. When our behavior is displeasing, we're bad. We grow and we learn that nothing could be farther from the truth. In fact, we're not our behavior at all. We are the love energy, the intelligent love energy that's observing our behavior, observing our experiences, observing our circumstances. And so much of our thinking, therefore, lives in experiencing ourselves and experiencing others. Now, despite this reality for many of us, at some point, somehow, we hopefully were introduced to the concept to consider ourselves that we're not our behavior, but instead observers. Now, in Unity, this is foundational. Much emphasis is placed on our thoughts and our thinking because what are our lives if not a string of thoughts, one leading into the next, for however many years we're alive in these bodies? Our lives actually end up being the thoughts that we keep and the thoughts that we repeat. I remember one of my most important Unity teachers telling me one time, it's not about getting it right all the time, it's about aiming well and having constructive thought the majority of the time, allowing love to lead our thoughts the majority of the time. Fortunately, becoming Lovewise includes learning that love is always here. Love is always ready to show up as us. And I find that when I talk to people, they're very willing to get on board with the concept that God is love and love is God. But when I also ask them if they believe themselves to also be love, there's some hesitation. I believe it's most often because of identifying as behavior or identifying as achievement or lack thereof, when nothing could be further from the truth. In 1 John chapter 4, we read, "My beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love." So in that simple passage, we're invited to consider that God and love are absolutely synonymous, which makes sense given our concept that God is all-knowing, everywhere present, and intelligently creative. Love being the most powerful force in the universe, it would make sense, could be considered as such as well. As we grow love-wise, this includes our self-realization that this same God, the same love, is our identity. Why? Well, because we originated from it, and we return to it, and we remain connected to it for always. Now, the interesting thing about being a spiritual being having a human experience is that we simply cannot be separate from God, simply the way any wave cannot be separate from the ocean or any sunbeam cannot be separate from the sun. But we can think we are. Therefore, we can create the experience of separation for ourselves. And we all know that feeling of separation, the emptiness, the fear, the cringing dread of the other shoe dropping, or that something bad is about to happen. But it's all about the alignment of our thought. And this teaching helps us find our identity and our power in aligning with love. So much of living well and living love is centered then in how we experience ourselves. Do we see ourselves as love? It's the leaning in to a chosen vision for ourselves and for our lives that is the loving. We, in fact, in our maturity, are our most unconditional loving parents to ourselves. When you have a decision to make, think, what would my most unconditionally loving parent suggest that I do? How would my most unconditionally loving parent prefer that I see myself in this circumstance? And how would my most unconditionally loving parent want me to proceed? As love, it's less reasonable to hide from the behavior that we know to be displeasing, and makes more sense to be about the business of simply living the love we are. Now, you've likely considered that in addition to experiencing ourselves as love, it truly behooves us to experience others as love as well, no matter their behavior. And this can definitely be a tall order. We know that not everyone all the time is willing to go by our rules, and for good reason. We have the opportunity to learn and appreciate that there is great value in other perspectives. And when we find harm in the behavior of another, it's absolutely appropriate to apply boundaries and yet still hold our focus of this individual as the love essence and the love intelligence we know them to be. Growing love-wise means we must unlearn that love hurts and learn the truth that love heals. Love itself never hurt anyone, despite the many references to the contrary in popular music. Our pursuit for love, however, outside of ourselves, searching for love in achievement, in accomplishment, in validation, in being pleasing, is absolutely painful and absolutely hurts. Why? Well, first of all, we have no business searching for what we are outside of ourselves. We are love. We can't be separate from it. But our thinking can convince us to the contrary. Our power in love equips us, however, to be the change we want to see. Why? Because as we align our thoughts with love, our vibration increases. Love is the highest frequency energy in the multiverse. Therefore, as our thoughts become more aligned with love, what would love do now? Who would love have me be? What would love have me say? Where would love have me go? Our vibration increases, and we then can see a vision and receive guidance that was not otherwise available to us. For those of us who appreciate the teachings of Abraham Hicks, this is what is meant by allowing our cork to float. When we're not noticing the things that are not the way we think they should be. In other words, when we let everything fall away, all of our judgments, all of our beliefs, all of our could have, should haves, would haves, all that's left is love, the highest possible frequency in the universe. Now, getting back to the quote that I opened the service with this morning, it's not naive to believe love must become our bottom line. What's naive is believing that our species will survive another 200 years if it does not. Our species may not survive another 200 years unless we become the love-centered, benevolent humans that can foster a sustainable society that works for everyone. And as Unitics, that's our work. We're here to be a part of the leading of that movement. And it's quite humble, in fact, to open and allow ourselves to be love with a willingness that is aligning our minds with love's power. It's Lovewise to tenaciously work, not to close our hearts when we feel that our ego may be threatened, when we feel we may be in uncharted waters, in unfamiliar territory. Instead, it's our invitation to remain open and simply allow that which we perceive as a threat to move through us and fall away from our minds. In the book, The Untethered Soul, author Michael Singer writes, "Because we've developed this hypersensitive psyche, we constantly use our energies to close around it and protect ourselves. But this process only hides the problems. It doesn't fix them. It keeps us from seeing the root cause. You will get to the point in your growth where you understand that if you protect your ego, you will never be free." Finding our power in love and growing Lovewise means we begin to live the truth of who we are as energetic beings. Now, when you think about that and you consider that we're energy in a body, but that everything that goes on in our bodies is energetic, how might that change the way you see yourself and some of the choices that you make in your day-to-day life? As we said before, when we allow everything else to simply fall away, all that can be left is love, the love essence we are. We came from love and we return to love. But we also must realize that that thinking is 180 degrees from the thinking of the material world we happen to be born into. More of our work, and the reason why we're here. But I love this story. Imagine for a moment living a life where we would allow anything that is not love to simply leave our minds. And we would become such effective perceivers of circumstances that we begin to create love-centric experiences every day, all day long. I've shared before how important Marianne Williamson's work has been in my growth and in my journey. And Marianne always shows up somewhere in everything I do every day. But I wanted to share a story that I heard her tell about 15 years ago in a lecture. A story about how children, when they show up in their vulnerability, when they show up in their innocence, sometimes they're willing and apt to break out into song at any time. And it warms our hearts. We love it. It allows us to reconnect just for a moment with that same innocence that we are and always will be. But what if you just happen to be at your local grocery store and you turn the corner and there was someone standing in the middle of the aisle, reared back and blaring with their full heart, "Night and day"? What would you think? Would you sing with them? Or would you call for a cleanup on aisle 12? It's true. A lot of times when we see others in their bliss, we think, what's up with that person? They just don't quite seem to get it. When in reality, they get it all. They understand that that which we create for ourselves, we get to hold inside and we're at the effect of. Who wouldn't want to be at the effect of night and day, all day, every day? Now, of course, when you're in Kroger, you don't have to sing, but you can think to yourself and you can chuckle and remember that you're out here on the loose, knowing yourself as the love that you are, having a ball, being loving and lovable, bringing healing to the planet, to yourself, and to the world with just your mere presence because of your vibration. Being Lovewise, we learn to become quite discerning about the fact that each thought is energy with a unique frequency, and that our experience quickly becomes the thoughts we follow. This is because thoughts are powerful, and we are powerful and creative by nature of the way our mind works. Again, in Untethered Soul, Michael Singer writes, "What exactly does it mean then to stop following your thoughts? It's something you do inside. It's called letting go. When you let go, you're actually falling behind the energy that is trying to pull you into it. Letting go is often the most vital aspect of living Lovewise, because when we let go of anything that is not love, only love remains for our experience. Yet how do we know for sure which thoughts we want to let go of? Well, first of all, we can focus on the feeling. Think for a moment. How does it feel in your body to walk out the realities of perfectionism? How does it feel, for instance, when we do others' work and then we create resentment within ourselves because we weren't willing to speak up about it? How does it feel when we say yes, but we mean no? How does it feel when we don't take the time for self-care simply because we've decided there isn't time? And perhaps one of our most common human tragedies, how does it feel to live inside the comparisons we often create, comparing our own lives to the lives of others we perceive as being somehow better? Love is the kind of care that doesn't compare. When we think about comparisons, what better opportunity to find a comparison in ourselves than behavior, than achievement, than status? Yet none of these things are the truth of who we are. Ian Van Sant says, comparison is the ultimate form of self-violence. Love is our life force, yet love is not comparison. When we're comparing, we're creating in separation from the love we are. So we're not only creating a sense of separation from God and from everyone else, in comparing, we are literally creating outside of love, because love doesn't compare. And anything we might create as the result of comparing is not the truth, but merely an erroneous perception of the truth, the love that we are. Think of all the energy we have lost and that we potentially stand to lose living inside the weight of comparisons, striving for perfection, compulsively what-ifing all the time, needing to know. I just have to know. We don't need to know everything all the time. As spiritual beings, we are on a need-to-know basis. And when we need to know, we will be made aware. Think of this type of living, the losing life force living through comparing, being compulsive, striving for perfection, constantly looking outside of ourselves for our identity. Think of it as depositing life force currency into a no-yield account for which countless people and experiences have ATM cards and are making constant and consistent withdrawals. But we're that bank account. When we are allowing ourselves to follow thoughts that are not love, we are literally making withdrawals from our energetic bank account all the time. And this is what is used to create our prosperity, our health, our joy, our creativity. All of those things need our love, life force energy to happen. So when we follow thoughts that are not of love, we're allowing that energy to hemorrhage from us. Living Lovewise often means we learn that our only real power lives in love, and identifying as unique expressions of that real love power as energy consciousness. We unlearn the lie that we are our behavior. We lean in to taking responsibility for managing well the love energy we are, and by letting go of thinking that hurts. When we choose to love, we allow our minds to be one with God. Then life is peaceful. When we turn away from love, the pain sets in. That's from A Course in Miracles. So a little story before we close. You may have heard of Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, a neuroanatomist from Boston who has taught and lectured and researched extensively at Harvard University. When Jill was a small child, she became fascinated with the way that the brain works and with our power of perception, because she noticed, even as a young woman, how she and her brother were experiencing very similar circumstances growing up, but walking away with very different experiences of those circumstances. Now, as life would have it, many years later, her brother would be diagnosed as experiencing schizophrenia, and Jill's passion for understanding the brain led her to her work as a neuroanatomist at Harvard. What's also very interesting is that in 1996, Dr. Taylor experienced a massive brain hemorrhage in the left hemisphere of her brain while she was at the height of her researching and teaching career at Harvard. Now, what's interesting about the left hemisphere of the brain is that the left hemisphere controls all of the cognitive function, the writing, the speech, the ability to reason, the linear capabilities of our brains. And that hemisphere of her brain was completely shut down as the result of the hemorrhage. What ended up happening then is the right brain, the spatial capacity for experiencing ourselves as this enormous energy field that we are, that is interconnected to all that is, that part of the brain became dominant in her experience. And as she recovered, what she realized was she became acutely aware and sensitive of whether or not those around her were in love as they were going about their processes for her care. She could tell very easily, she could sense if they were in a loving, peaceful place, or if they were anxiety or upset or in fear in any way. So when Jill recovered to the point of being able to communicate, she requested that a sign be placed on her door that read, "Please take 100% responsibility for the energy you bring into this space." And there, my friends, it is. The big kahuna, the invitation, the opportunity, the reason that we gather and continue to honor and learn from our new thought, wisdom masters. Accepting and prioritizing the invitation that is showing up as an offering of love in any place we find ourselves is the work we're here to do. As the result of leaning into our inner work to release all that is not love, and as we allow more love inside ourselves, we simply are more love to offer the world. And we can only offer what we have. So what then does it actually mean to be Lovewise, to grow Lovewise, to continue growing Lovewise all the days of our lives? Well, among many things, I believe it means taking 100% responsibility for learning the truth of ourselves as love, so that we might identify and unlearn the lies we've been socialized into. Also, taking 100% responsibility for managing our life force love energy by leaning in to love-centered thinking and letting go of anything that is not love. And finally, taking 100% responsibility for the energy we bring into this space. Let it be love. and be well. Namaste. Now, if you would please prepare for meditation. As we breathe deeply, we are reminded that our breath is our connection to all life, to all love, to all wisdom, and all peace. As we breathe, we know we are as enough now in the only moment that could ever be. We are enough now, as enough as we could ever be. We are fully supported, we are guided, and we are sourced by love. To co-create for ourselves full, magnificent, contributory life experiences. And we are safe to create those experiences now. As we breathe, we honor our connection to all that is, knowing that as we allow the healing of our own minds by the power and the process of love, that because of our connection to all that is, we also allow the healing of the world, the healing for a world that works for all. And so we just surrender our own will and our own thoughts to the will of love. Love, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to whom? For a few moments now, we just consider the power that lives in the opportunity to allow our healing in love for the purposes of love on planet Earth. Love, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? And what would you have me say, to whom? Such that I might allow my own thoughts, my own perceptions, and my own experiences to be guided by the most powerful force in the multiverse. The love that is God, God that is love. And as we breathe, we know we are that power. We are that goodness. We are that strength. We are that health. We are that abundance. And so we find gratitude. And we know that anything is so so. And together, therefore, we say, and so it is. Namaste.
Thank you, Vic, for opening our hearts and our minds with your heart wisdom, showing us new ways to look at the things in our lives. It was great to have you back this morning as our guest speaker and our musician. Now is the time in our service for our gratitude practice. For those of you who share your tithes and your offerings with us, I want to thank you on behalf of the board for your financial gifts. Your financial support is helping Unity of Chattanooga to thrive and to gather the resources necessary so that one day soon we can have the opportunity to gather, worship, and support each other together in person. So let's take our gifts and hold them in our consciousness right now as we affirm our love offering blessing together. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, and I receive in abundance. And so we bless these gifts and we send them forth to fulfill the vision and the mission of Unity of Chattanooga. So please join us in singing our love offering song.
Spirit flow through me as I open up to be an expression of your unfolding peace. Spirit show through me as I open up to be an expression of your unfolding.
For our announcements this morning, remember that we offer 2 ways to connect with each other every week on Zoom. The first is our Sunday morning meditation at 9:30, and our second is Mindful Musings on Thursday at noon. To take part, you can find the contact information on our website, www.unityofchattanooga.org, or send your email address to contact@unityofchattanooga.org, and you will receive it in our weekly newsletter. Next Sunday, we welcome back Reverend Christy Snow as our guest speaker and musician. Her message is the sourdough factor, as she talks about all the ingredients that we bake into our life. It sounds pretty good, so please join us again next week. As we close our service this morning, let us affirm our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And always remember that no matter where you are on your spiritual journey, you're welcome here. And now we close with one last song by Vic Sorrell. God bless.
It's been a pleasure to be with you all today. Thank you again for inviting me to be a part of your experience at Unity of Chattanooga. Before we conclude, I'd like to leave you with a final song, a song that's titled, I Will to Will, and a song that is about our will being informed by the will of God, and therefore the will of love. Because we know that God is love, and love is God. And as we see ourselves as unique expressions of that same love, always joined with God, never to be separated, then our own will, that we will in our own lives, is the will of love, is the will of God. I will to will. I've so enjoyed being a part of your experience today at Unity of Chattanooga, and I thank you again for the invitation to share with you all. I'd like to leave you today with a song entitled, I Will to Will, and it speaks about being aligned with the will of God and the will of love as the result of your own will being informed by your identity as love. I will to will. I will to will God's will in my life. I will to will God's will. I will to will God's will in my life. God's will be done. God's will be done. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. I will to will. I will to will. I will to will God's will in my life. I will to will. I will to will. I will to will God's will be done. So turn it over. Give it up when you know you've had enough, and don't hang on to what feels wrong. I will to will. I will to will. I will to will God's will in my life. I will to will. I will to will. I will to will God's will be done. And there's another way to live when we are willing to forgive first ourselves and then all else. Oh, I will to will. I will to will. I will to will God's will in my life. I will to will. I will to will. I will to will God's will be done. And love solutions that we can't see appear in our humility as we surrender, asking, oh, be healed. I will to will. I will to will. I will to will God's will in my life. I will to will. I will